Good evening, everyone. I'm Catherine Sharbaugh, and I am the Director of Donor Relations and Special Initiatives here. And it's my pleasure to welcome you tonight to hear Dr. Shelley Perlove, and she will be speaking about memory and reflection, Chagall's unique modernism. The Sheppy Dog Lecture Series were established in 2012 by Dr. Alan Klein. His interest is combining the topics of art, history, and religion. And tonight, Shelley was returning, and she was our very first Sheppy Dog speaker.
Just shows that I'm old.
And she returned 4 years later and spoke, and now this is her trifecta. So it's very exciting, and I hope all of you will celebrate Dr. Klein with me. Now, the next Sheppy Dog lecture is a little different. It's going to be presented by Rhonda Brulette, and she is a cultural anthropologist, and she's studied the effect of mezcal on the economy of Oaxaca. And it's a craft spirit for the global marketplace. And we're going to have an opportunity after that, it's a paid event, to do a tasting, a mezcal tasting. And there'll be some pairings of food with that. And I don't know if we're going to serve this, but she did tell me that one of the pairings is ant caviar. So, it's up to you. Okay.
With vodka or without?
And I would also like to express the FIA's gratitude to the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation for their continued support. And a really important thing is the Genesee County support of arts and culture in our community. That millage is called the Genesee County Arts Education and Cultural Enrichment Millage. And one of the benefits for citizens of Genesee County is free admission to the FIA 7 days a week. And it's vital to our health here. Now, I know a few people here are not from Genesee County, but we'll take care of you. We have the support of Huntington Bank, and if you come on a Saturday, they'll pay your way in. And bring a crowd. I would like to mention, too, that tonight our assisted listening devices are not functioning if you're used to using those, and they are going to be repaired, so next time you come, they will be functioning. I did mention devices, and I would like all of you to please silence your devices. Now to the important thing. Dr. Shelley Perlove. She received her degree, her doctorate from the University of Michigan in art history, and she currently has the title of Professor Emerita from the University of Michigan, still teaching art history there. She specializes in Dutch and Italian art from the 17th century, especially the art of Rembrandt, and that was her first topic when she came here. She has authored numerous books, including Bernini and the Idealization of Death, and co-authored Rembrandt's Faith, Church, and Temple in the Dutch Golden Age. In addition to that, she has prepared several exhibition catalogs and nearly 50 articles and book chapters. I must say, her resume is outstanding, and if any of you want to read it, Google her. You'll be, I couldn't believe it. I could give a lecture on Shelley Perlove's accomplishments. So I'd like all of you to welcome Shelley and show her what Flint's all about.
Wait a minute, you took my introduction. Catherine, you took my paper. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave. This is the only thing I read, one page. Thank you so much, Catherine, for that wonderful introduction. And all I could think about when you told me all about the publications I've done is that I must be crazy. I'm a workaholic here. I want to thank you and Becky Schenzer of all the details that you have handled for this visit. Good evening, everyone. I am so happy to be here again at your lovely museum, directed by my former brilliant student, Tracy Glob. Today it is my pleasure to take you on a journey through the life and art of Marc Chagall, to witness his rise to fame as a major modernist of the 20th century. The well-known art critic Robert Hughes once called Chagall, quote, the quintessential Jewish artist of the 20th century. I don't think he would have been happy to hear that one. I believe this assessment is unsatisfactory. Chagall contributed to the development of surrealism and expressionism. Moreover, his subjects held universal appeal, often in response to the tumultuous events that unfolded so violently around him in his time and place. I'd like to begin here by giving you two quotes, two assessments of Chagall, so that your mind and your eyes could be set upon certain characteristics of his art as we see him developing. One is his own statement, and you are the judge to see if you think that they're true or not. Chagall said, the dignity of the artist lies in his duty of keeping awake the sense of wonder in the world. So we're going to see many works, and to judge that statement. Picasso famously said, when Matisse dies, Chagall will be the only artist who understands what color is. Wow. The Spanish artist also admired his talent in, quote, pulling his pictures together, which means composition, how your eye moves over the painting, and his amazing use of light. So keep that in mind. I'd like to kind of give you a little handle to hold on to as we go through this amazing look at this great artist. And to tell you the truth, when I was asked to do the lecture, I said, oh, well. But then I heard, number one, that Alan asked for me. Number two, that Tracy is the director. But number three, also, that I really wanted to learn a lot about Chagall, and now I am so crazy about Chagall, I can't tell you. So that transformation, I hope, happens here during the course of this adventure, I call it. He was born in a town near Vitebsk. He spent most of his life there in Belarus, which is a shtetl, these small towns that developed, which often focused upon a certain commercial need, a market need, usually populated by Jews who were forced to live in the Pale of Settlement, particularly under the Russians. It was part of the Russian Empire, 1772 to 1795, and in 1919 was part of the Soviet Union. And we're going to see how the memories of this town was retained, that's why I called it memory and recollection, throughout his life. And he made a statement in his life, his autobiography. He said, if I paint from the brain, it's nothing. But if I paint from the heart, it is always right. And the other thing he said, that I have to paint from the soul. And this is a Jewish soul that developed over time. And it's very moving to see that development. So I'm showing you the map. Over here, his Vitebsk. Oops, I didn't mean to change the, oops. What happened here? Do. Oh, come on. All right, we don't want that. Craig, are you here? Put me back to the beginning. Put me back. Okay, this is fine. That's okay. Are you there? Okay. So, yeah, I wanted to acquaint you with these motifs, these elements that keep cropping up in his art, and to learn to recognize them. One of them is the characteristics of the town itself. Here you could see the churches. Oops, there's something here I'm touching that I shouldn't. It's my fault, I think. Okay, one more. That's it. Okay, good. I'll try to be careful. It has a different feel from the one I teach with. So here you could see, as I touch this, I hope I'm not moving anything. Yeah, the towers of the church. You have this long hill. You have a bridge that's going over the river. And down here is the area where Chagall lived. Very poor, mostly craftsmen. And I'll tell you a bit about his family. Here is a lithograph of that area. The town has been totally destroyed. And I will talk about the effect on Chagall of that awful, traumatic experience. Below, right, is the poor areas with Jewish craftsmen, shopkeepers. Here, Chagall spent his youth and clung to its memory throughout. So it's kind of interesting to see why a certain memory just stays with you throughout your life and was so productive for him. He came from a large family. He was the oldest child of 9 children. They were dirt poor. I'm showing you here Chagall. See? He has his curly hair standing up. We'll see him over and over. And here's his father and mother. And many of them are the children, also other relatives. It kind of looks like some of the photographs that we have at home, right? From the old country, for many of us. And his father had a job. He was very pious. He hauled heavy barrels all of his life for a local herring merchant. His mother sold groceries from the home. They were poor, hardworking, Hasidic is very important, Jews whose mysticism inspired Chagall's art. Chagall was interested in visions and these legends, and of course, a very important background for him to draw upon. Here we get an idea of his early life. There's a long story, and it's most delightful in his autobiography about him. First, he wanted to be, he was struggling, what should I be? And first, he heard a beautiful violinist playing. He said, I want to play the violin. And his mother, being a good Jewish mother, she found somebody to lend him a violin. He was terrible. But he loved to hear it. And then he decided that he wanted to be an artist, and she took him to a local artist, a Jewish artist, who agreed to give him lessons for nothing, and then found somebody. The mother was amazing. You know, she knew people. She would really do things for him. And she got him admitted and placed in St. Petersburg in a Russian art school. And I just want to show you here, just first of all, the color range here of his earlier work, and also what we call a kind of naive art, which was very popular in Russia. So here, by 1909, he had already been 1 year in Russia. And that was the style that was very popular. Kind of show simple people, kind of not very decorative, but doing simple things. And you could see already, I think, his coloristic abilities, because look at that bride, how she shines. He loved white. He loved white because it really was an eye catcher, and it would pick up everything. And I'm showing you with it, excuse me, here I go again. I'm sorry. This is going to throw off my timing. Okay, let me try to get back. 1, 2, 3. Okay. One more. I just brought in a sketch that he did of his village because to emphasize to you the importance of the life experience and how it could be presented as it was in this early work, directly from life. No vision, no angels, no animals. And what's interesting is that when I looked at this drawing after reading his biography, here's his street. You could see how accurate it is. This is wood buildings that were terribly damaged in pogroms. And here's a man sitting and resting with a barrel next to him. And of course, I went crazy. I said, oh, maybe that's his father. And he would have been up on the roof, kind of looking down. So this was a very enriching period for him. He's beginning with this neo-primitivist style, popular in Russia. But this is also an important time for his personal life. And his personal life really does matter because he met Bella Rosenfeld. Bella Roosevelt, the love of his life. First when he was in St. Petersburg, and later she was from Vitebsk, the same town. So it was love at first sight because they had so much in common. He said, when I looked at her, I saw myself, my life experience before me. But her father did not want her to marry Chagall because he was just a poor artist, and because his parents were not educated people. His father was a wealthy jeweler and sent Bella to St. Petersburg and to Moscow to study literature. She was highly educated, and she inspired Chagall throughout his life. So they became engaged, and it was kind of tenuous here until 1915. But what happened here, that Chagall wouldn't be Chagall if he didn't go to Paris. Paris was everything. It was so exciting for him because all he had experienced in Russia was that neo-primitive style, and he just didn't really get into it very well. But what excited him was Fauvism. It's a French style that developed largely by Matisse and other artists, where they use color. This is a self-portrait here, the work on the left, of Matisse. And you could see the rigor, not the rigor, but the excitement of the brushwork, the freedom of the brush, the freedom of the use of color. Not having to define everything that you saw, but to create suggestions of things through color. Of course, Matisse was a great colorist. And immediately here, he's in Paris, he does a portrait of his father. He adored his parents. They were very loving people. Portrait of his father using the Fauve style. And you could see that he's brushing on the color on top of color, and he's using exaggerations of form such as the red around his eyes because he's so tired to convey. And yet, look at the cheerfulness of his expression. And interesting, too, Chagall is always interesting. If you look at the background, I bet you could guess, too, it's a homage to Vincent van Gogh, sunflowers. Yeah, I mean, he is working so hard to absorb all of these things. And he's so lucky because in his early years, he finds out, he's very lonely there, but he finds out that many of the artists, he had no money, even though there was a Jewish man that kind of supported him. He said, I could eat one cucumber for a week and one herring for another week. But he came to this place called La Ruche, which means in French, beehive. And it was a place where all the artists who were coming to Paris, who were mostly practicing new forms of art like Cubism, resided because it was very cheap. And as you could see on the left, they could share models in the studio. And we have a photograph of just that. They're marvelous. And Lou, I see a female artist here too, huh? And it was very good for Chagall in another way, because he was having a little trouble learning French. And then it turned out that there were Eastern European Jews who came there to live because it was cheap. And they spoke Yiddish. That's what he spoke. And he said, oh, it feels so good to be able to speak Yiddish here in Paris. I want you to remember this building. Okay, remember, it's a circular building with a dome, because we're going to see it in his paintings. Probably one of the most famous paintings by Chagall is this one in the MoMA. And I bet you've seen it if you've gone to the MoMA. It's huge. And it's so amazing because he's still quite young. It's only 1911, when he painted this work called I and the Village. So he's in Paris, and it kind of pours out of him this love, this recollection, the memory of Vitebsk, but he applies it to an absolutely modern form, taking Cubism and taking as well surrealism. Interesting, I'm using the term surrealism. That term was not coined for years. It was coined because of Chagall. So this Jewish artist from Vitebsk was a major figure in the movement, the progress of modern art. And I'll explain it more later. Surrealism is a sense of going against realism, not against as antagonistic, but going beyond it to access the world of dreams and visions, to envision too an imaginative world that is different from the visible world. And in this work, we could see amazing things. It's very, very large. It's almost as big as the screen here. That's how big it is. By the way, when I go to the MoMA, nobody looks at it. I want to start talking about it when I say it. I think because people don't understand it. I think that's what it is. I really do. But once you start understanding it, it's amazing. Number one, it talks about something that was very important to Chagall throughout his life, the sense of the interaction between the human being and the animal. And the animal, it becomes anthropomorphic. There's a high emotional connection that he sees. For example, in this, you have the cow, right? And you have the peasant. The peasant, we know, is not Jewish because he has a cross around his neck. And of course, everybody's going to say, why is the face green? It was funny because people were always asked, and he would never say why. But I feel like I know why, because I looked at so many works by him. The green face indicates a strong interior world, a kind of passion for life that goes beyond the ordinary. And you're going to see it in his second wife. You're going to see it, and it always is meaningful. It's always meaningful. And here, the peasant with the green face faces the cow. And what's so interesting about it is that you can't see it, but you can when you go to the museum. So go to MoMA after this. You can see that he has incised into the canvas to create and to connect the glance, the eye-to-eye position of the peasant. Oh no, not again. I can't do this all the time. Okay. It gets tiresome, doesn't it? If Craig was here, I could ask him to change the slides for me, but I don't know where he is. Okay, maybe you'll go ask. Here's this direct relationship between the cow. Cows are very important. He's often a cow, too. Chagall's a cow, but we'll see this later on. And they're making this, and then he uses a circle to unite the two. This is the major part, the foreground space of the painting. And then I started looking at it, because he emphasizes the lips. It's like they're talking to each other. Marvelous sense. We know that the peasants in Vitebsk often lived with the animals in their houses. So there's a very close connection, more than even a pet here. And then what does he do in humanizing this and exploring surrealism is that he paints a small image of the cow being milked by a milkmaid. So this is his thought. The cow is thinking about being milked. So we have this emotional exchange. We also know that Hasidic thought was very much tied in the idea of animals as being connected to the divine. So this is something he's growing up with within this home, which sets him off. The other idea that I wanted, let's see, gaze, milking, and this is another element that you should look for always in Marc Chagall, the tree of life image, which is a very important image in Orthodox Judaism. The tree is sacred, and it creates a connection with the divine. And Etz Chaim, like every synagogue, not every single, but many synagogues are called Tree of Life, and also schools, Jewish schools, and cemeteries, Etz Chaim. But what has he done to the Tree of Life? It could also be the Tree of Life from the Garden of Eden. He uses these dots over them that gives them a mystical look. A mystical look. I think Chagall was fascinated throughout his life with the circle. The circle. And the circle, you think about the properties of a circle, right? It's equidistance from the center. It organizes things. It has a unity. And he may have, in part, have developed an affinity for the circle through his relationship with Robert Delaunay, a French artist. This is one called Circles. It's part of a school in Paris called Orphism. It's a bit like music. It's an ecstasy, which appealed to him, appealed to Chagall. But also, look at the way just the abstract use of the circle and the colors creates a sense of dynamism and excitement and color. I think it's marvelous. And to him, this is the move. This is the modern world that's coming into place here. Creates a sense of emotion, the dynamism of the modern world. And in this case here, the circle unites the major figures, but also creates this curving connection with the background, which you know is the background because it's smaller. I mean, this is such an absolutely brilliant modernist concept of space that no one else had ever done before. Okay, let's see. Okay, I did that. This. Chagall experimented with the circle in another work that was very important. Chagall was, doing this unbelievable innovational work in Paris, but, the other artists pretty much ignored him. Yeah, he's got these crazy things, but the poets loved him. Because he is a poet. Chagall is a poet. And he became friends with Guillaume Apollinaire, a very famous, very modern poet in Paris, and another famous one too. But this one was very kind to him. He was Polish-French, gay poet who defended Dreyfus, the Dreyfus affair, you know about that, I don't have to tell you, and favored Cubism and coined the term surnaturalisme, meaning above the natural world. Just at looking at Chagall's work, he said, oh yes, that's what it is. And then years later, Apollinaire was the one who coined the word surrealism. So you see how he's in the vanguard of everything that's going on here. And so what did he do, which pleased Apollinaire so much, particularly I think also as a gay man, is that he presented Adam and Eve according to the Midrash. Midrash is the sermons, the commentaries of the rabbis. It's older than the Talmud. It's very old, and they have been compiled. And which dealt with a text that was hard, like man and woman created he, them. You know? Anyway, him. It deals with inconsistencies in the Bible. And the idea was very important that initially Adam and Eve were one person, androgynous, no sex. And that in the creation, they were separated and received their own sex. And then when when Eve was created from Adam, and then God brought Eve to Adam, that then they could be like man and wife. And it was the idea which was so appealing to Chagall, the idea that this is why men and women are attracted to each other. And that was something he was thinking about because he was engaged and missing Bella. But I think it's so interesting. I mean, think about the problems as a painter to connect two figures without any genitals. And I thought about that. I hope you don't mind me. But I like to think like an artist. Okay, so the apple here makes it clear that, there's Adam and Eve, right? Two heads in this case. And then, of course, you immediately go down to the genitals, which, of course, at first I thought, wait a minute, that looks like can I say it, penis? Looks like doesn't it? And then I looked over and I said, no, that can't be right. So then I thought, well, maybe he should have just had nothing there. But if he had nothing there, what would it be? A female. So he came up with this idea that's so clever of the hand moving over. It's so clever. And of course, he placed it within the circle, which gives it a sense of being a primal thing in the universe. And of course, Apollinaire just went crazy, and there's another poet who also loved it very much. The androgynous Adam and Eve. I show that in my class because I'm teaching a course on the Hebrew Bible. So here. So moving now to the background quickly. Again, he's haunted. And I don't mean haunted, but he loves his village. He said, I'm going to paint for the soul, my soul. That village is in my soul. And what do you see? You move back into depth. You have the sensation, too, of a kind of spherical surface. And here we see the town of Vitebsk. And we could see the houses upside down. Well, in reading his autobiography, he talked about going out, he loved the sky, going out at night and looking at the sky, and he would hear the neighbors arguing all the time. You should read it. I think he was influenced by Shalom Aleichem, though he didn't admit it. But anyway, it's quite wonderful. And so here's these upside-down houses that take on different meaning. Here's the peasants. She is upside down. She's sowing. He's reaping. But this element here, a figure inside the church, looking out. He said, I'm always a stranger wherever I am. He's the observer. He's the artist. And he's in a church. And we do know that he went into the churches to see the art. There's no question about it. So here he is kind of peering out, the sense of wonder and curiosity at the world that unfolds around him. Whatever he touched was new and fresh and exciting, but he never forgot. He never forgot his background. He was very aware of himself in Paris. And this is the famous self-portrait with 7 fingers of 1913. This drives AI crazy, because all people write to, did Chagall have 7 fingers? It's so funny, it cracks me up. No. However, 7 figures refer to a Yiddish expression. So like his mother is saying, go, set the table or go do something. And she was like, hey, come on, when are you going to get finished? And he'll say, I'm working with 7 fingers. See, this is so wonderful how it grows out of that past. No, but he was working crazy. He wrote it to his family. He said, I'm working so hard day and night. I'm so excited. I'm forgetting about everything that I learned in Russia, meaning that early period, and I'm just bursting with excitement. And he shows himself in the self-portrait dressed up to paint, which is kind of interesting. Almost looks like a dandy here. In a Cubist style, where he takes parts of his body here and reduces it to geometric shapes using bright colors at the same time. It's interesting because I read that when he wrote back, he painted in the nude. So this is just about ideas. He said, I paint in the nude. I like to paint in the nude. But it's marvelous is because he's showing his prestige. He had very curly hair here. He's at the easel, and it shows him painting a work that is very similar to a work that he had earlier painted, but which had been rejected by an exhibition in Paris. They thought it was obscene, I think, because he put, maybe that's himself, drinking from the cow. I mean, I can't see anything else that would bother. But surrealist, of course. The milkmaid is flying in the sky, looking up at the sky, and in this work, the rejected work, she has nipples all over her. The idea of the milkmaid, very, very imaginative. What I love about this, of course, there's a lot that I love here, but I like the way he exposes to the viewer his palette. Those are the colors that he used in the painting. I just get so much pleasure out of seeing them. And they are all here, the yellow, orange, incredible works here. The Cubist, and notice here how part of his face is green. It's not all green. His eyes are not focused because he's looking into his imagination. And what makes it surrealist as well is on the wall, as an apparition, there's that same church that he was in earlier. And he loves these, I call them boulder clouds. There was like big boulders flying there, a vision of his background, and through the other window, the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower that was built around 1900. It was the most exciting thing in Paris. I mean, all of the modernist artists wanted to paint it. And for him, we'll see, it keeps coming back to him. And I think also an artist that was there at La Ruche, who was also a Cubist. He was not inspired by Picasso. He was inspired by these other artists that were working in a Cubist vein. And this is a Jean Mézières. And this was a very popular Cubist work in the exhibition, the Salon des Indépendants in Paris in 1911. So I think he's thinking, gee, I want to get in there. He did finally get in 1912. Do you see the relationship? Yet, this artist follows Picasso's palette. You know, it's the light browns and the light greens that Picasso uses. But look at Chagall, what he does, and how he uses these colors to create form. Amazing. Another work that he did, where he's experimenting. Oh, it's so fertile. His mind here. 1913, Paris Through the Window. This is in the Guggenheim in New York. There's a lot of works in New York. I could tell you later about why and et cetera. It shows him, again, he is looking out the window. This is very important to him. Because what does he see? A view of Paris. The Eiffel Tower is 4 times its height. It just grows so big to him. You could see how he paints in the lattice work of it. The sky is ablaze with color. There's such a sense of jubilation and excitement from Orphism, no doubt. And then we see a view of the city. This is Paris. We know it. You've been there. Baron Haussmann's apartment blocks were already put up in the 19th century. And here they are, shown here. And also, we see some surrealist elements. For example, his head is a Janus head. That's a classical element. The head that looks one way and looks the other way, it's the past and it's the present. And that's where he is. He's caught between the two. And I'll show you how. One side is blue. Now, blue is a very spiritual color for him. Very spiritual. And he's not even seeing, he's dreaming it. He's dreaming it. And you look down at his hand, there's a heart on his palm. He misses Bella. He misses her, and he's worried. Is she going to stay faithful to me? Am I going to get to marry her? I know her father doesn't like me anyway. But then you see the sense of bursting energy. The flowers, he loved flowers, the bouquet, and then the cat with the human face. He loved cats. And for him, this was his companion. Marvelous, it could even be him, a part of him. And then we look further, and what do we see? A bourgeois couple, a man and a woman lying in the ground. And then on the same scale, the train, upside down, upside down. What has happened here? Topsy-turvy? Are they excited? Are they overwhelmed? And then we look. This man on the parachute. I mean, it looks like a euphoric figure, you know? But it may be inspired by an actual contemporary event. Number one, you have the colors of the French flag here. But the man with the parachute may be Franz Reichert, who took a fatal dive from the tower with a faulty parachute on February 4th, 1912. He plays with this, you know? You know, this is excitement, and then there's an underlying he's going to fall to his death. So the mood is euphoric yet tinged with imminent tragedy. Even before he leaves Paris, because he has to go back to Russia, and he wants to, because he wants to make sure that Bella is not interested in somebody else, he brings back memories here of the past. This is a fabulous work. He's not that old. A rabbi is shown here in his study. The colors are very much inspired by fall, the bright yellow tones. His beard, it's become very venerable, right? The shades of green are penetrating it. His eyes are darkened, and it's called a pinch of snuff. He's using snuff. You could see it here, because he's staying up all night, and nights after nights, for the mystical experience of text. And in order not to fall asleep, he takes snuff. The snuff was very common. You stick it in your nose, it's tobacco, to keep himself up. And then in the background, on the book, Chagall wrote his name in Russian, Moishe Chagall. And then here, Chagall on the talus hanging on the wall. Such an interesting contrast here between that work from 1912 and this one from 1914. He's back in Vitebsk. And if that is Fauve, and I think you agree with me it is, because of the colors, right? This one is Cubism. Cubism. And he took, the story he tells is that he took his father's prayer clothes. They were very pious. He took his father's prayer clothes and he dressed him up in a beggar on the street. And he brought him into the studio and he painted him. It's marvelous, black and white. And the way that the black and white creates patterns, his phylacteries for prayer, right? He's got here the phylacteries, the box on his head, the talus around his shoulders, and the tzitzits here, the knots hanging down. And he painted him in a half hour. And he said, half hour? I mean, he said, and then in his bio, he said, I couldn't stand it. He was so smelly. But isn't that marvelous, though? I love that. Now, I want to say quickly, both of these I teach a course on art and the Nazis at U of M, and I talk about the Degenerate Art exhibition. And that was an exhibition that was put together by the Nazis to defame modern art and to call it Jewish. And so these paintings were in the Degenerate Art exhibition in 1937 in Munich, and the label on the room was Revelations of the Jewish Racial Soul. So, coming from Hitler, it can't be a compliment, right? It's really deep. Very interesting. And so he had to go back. He wanted to go back, and he wanted to see Bella. And the war was coming out, and he was afraid that he would be a dodger for the military, which would be a very bad thing. And so I wanted to show you how much he had learned. This is 1909, right after he came out of the Russian school. And then over here is a self-portrait just before he left. The different colors. Marvelous, isn't it? Very brooding at that, isn't it? I think he was pretty worried. But it did work out okay. By 1915, finally, Bella's parents said, okay, marry him. We'll never stop this. I just go ahead and get married. And they do. And of course, it's a great love story. There's been books written about it. Love at first sight, and then the love that they had, and the love that they both described. She was a writer as well. And they wrote poetry about it. And here you can see on the right, of course, there's Chagall and Bella. Here's the room which he depicted, that they were living in Russia, in St. Petersburg. And this is the room. All the details of the bed sheets, the bedspread, the rug on the wall, etc. Of course, there's distortions in perspective, purposely done. But look the words. I love the words. He said about her coming to the studio. In-streamed blueness of sky, love and flowers dressed in white and black. Nice writing, huh? Yeah, beautiful. Of course, she translated all his stuff, and I wonder if that has come to me, because she's a great writer. How can he be just such a great writer? Anyway, but look at them floating together, the sense of flying in their love, and the kiss, and here the flowers, and the window, and the food that she brings him, and the wonderful colors, the red versus the green, and this pliability of posture, it conveys the sense of his love for her. So while he was there, the revolution occurred. He didn't know what to make of it, but then after the Russian Revolution in 1917, he was thrilled because for the first time the Jews were made citizens. He thought, wow, that's pretty great. We're going to be citizens. The Jews are going to be citizens. And then he was appointed, this was under Lenin, this is the early years of the revolution, he was made commissar of Art Academy in Vitebsk, the leader of that in Vitebsk. And he was pretty excited about it, but it did not go well. Why didn't it go well? Because the other artists hated his work. They hated his work. They made fun of it. They said, what is all this? All these figures running around and angels. And this is what they were doing. This is Malevich. White on white. You've been there in the MoMA and you go, ah. Yeah, white on white. Suprematism, the most reductive type of art, totally abstract, square to canvas, and then with another square slightly angled. This is what was considered great. I'm not saying it's not great, because I like supremacists, but he was very upset, and they rejected him, and he went on a trip once for a commission. When he came back, they took over the whole academy. It was so bad. This is when he really vented. Number one, he changed his mind about the communists. He lamented that the revolution lacked respect for what is, quote, other and different. They wanted conformity, and he was not a conformist. He defended surrealism as follows to his Russian colleagues and critics. The entire world within us is reality, perhaps more real than the visible world. I think there'd be some people who would agree with that the world that we carry around inside our heads, that we dreams, and is more, and of course you think of Freud and all that. And then he goes on, I'm an outsider here. I am always the Jew from Vitebsk. Terrible anti-Semitism. Terrible anti-Semitism. But I'm certain that Rembrandt loves me. So, of course, you have a lecture by a Rembrandt person. It wasn't hard to put Rembrandt in it. I didn't know I would, but he mentions Rembrandt quite a bit. But the Chagalls were, first of all, they were destitute. He was paid so little money. I had a daughter. And they left Vitebsk for Moscow, where Marc worked for the Jewish theater. Oh, these are great. These commissions are amazing. I don't have much time to go into it too much. But the great masterpiece that was created, he was asked to do a number of murals representing the arts for the Jewish theater. And this is the one for music. And what did he do? He showed the violinist from Vitebsk, the green violin, and look how green he is. The ecstasy of music And his hand is also green. And he's lost in this world. And who's that? That's Chagall flying in the sky from the music. And then on the roof, well, two roofs. Two roofs. He has one foot on one and one on the other, and you could see that he is a pious Jew. He's wearing his tallis. And then here's the cow. The cow loves the music. Always. The cow is a friend. I should show you. I just want to turn this off again. But down here, I'm not going to use that way, see? And then in the background, here's a little boy kind of holding up a violin. That's probably him giving it up because he couldn't play. But wonderful. You could see the patterns here. I think, because I've been so immersed in all this, that, see these windows here? That's like that Paris. And then these, with the brown tone, is Vitebsk. Paris, Vitebsk. Two parts of himself. Interesting. Shalom Aleichem was there in Moscow, and he met him. You know who Shalom Aleichem is, right? Oh, I would think so. The great Jewish Yiddish writer. Amazing stories. And he had just finished. He worked for a long, long time on Tevye the dairyman. And then, moving forward, in 1964, I was there. In 1964, the Broadway show, Fiddler on the Roof, was in New York. And my parents, they said, you have to see it. Because they want to make sure I'm going to be a good Jewish girl. It worked. It really worked. And the name of it, Fiddler on the Roof, was from Chagall. From Chagall. So Chagall actually went to it, and he said, I don't like it. Yet, I've read he just at the same time he wrote his autobiography. It is so infused with the style of Shalom Aleichem. I think there's a little bit of jealousy there. But he did some work. He did costume designs. He did scenery. But they were very unhappy. Both of them were unhappy. And they left Russia in 1923. They went to Lithuania. They went to Germany. It didn't work. They wound up in Paris. And while they were in Paris, they traveled. They got commissions. And one commission that he got was for a very famous publisher who would also commission works of Picasso named Ambroise Vollard. And he said, I want you, what a great idea, I want you to do the Bible. I want you to do paintings of scenes. Of course, I'm teaching that, so I use this a lot. Paintings of the Bible. And he was blown away. He said just reading the Bible just made him feel his Jewishness. He said that the experience of being in the Holy Land revitalized his Jewish soul. I think this is amazing here. There's so many paintings and, tourist pictures of the Wailing Wall, or as the Jews call it, the Western Wall. But this one, I think, is great. And this is before they built the plaza that, made it larger. But look at those stones, the limestone. I mean, that's part of the Temple Mount, It's part of the temple. And you feel it, don't you? And the colors, I think it's incredible. And you could see also here, it was under Jordan's jurisdiction, some of the Arab visitors kind of sleeping there at the same time. Things were getting very bad. And Bella and Marc Chagall, it really affected them terribly. And the date 1933 struck them right into their heart because they knew about Hitler. They had read about Hitler. They knew about Hitler. He became chancellor. Germany. And they thought things are going to get really bad. Really bad. And both of them became very depressed. They thought that the survival of the Jews and their heritage would be lost. And here, this painting, I think this is one of my favorite ones, which shows this Hasidic rabbi with this white mantle around him in a posture suggestive of melancholia, depressed. The violin is near him. He's not played. The white cow is also called the white cow. The white cow symbolizes innocence and wonderful things. Can't cheer him up. And the sky is stormy. And you see this angel. Almost, is the angel fleeing? I don't know. But there you could see Vitebsk. And there's that church again in the background. And I'm suggesting this. Nobody has ever, if I get around to publishing it, I have such a long list of things to do. But he loved Rembrandt. Remember that. He loved Rembrandt. And they went to Amsterdam. And they went to the Rijksmuseum. And I know what they saw. Because I published on this work. This fabulous painting by Rembrandt called Jeremiah Lamenting the Fall of Jerusalem. I wrote a whole long article. When I was in the museum, the guard wanted to throw me out. He said, "You looked long enough." Oh, what a painting it is. And here you see Jeremiah. He's brooding because he tried to warn them about this, and it came to pass, and now Jerusalem is lost. And can you imagine here now that parallelism of the loss of Jerusalem, the loss of Vitebsk, and the heritage of the Jews. So I think it's related. Take it or leave it. I think I might do it if I have time. He was asked by EVO. Some of you know what EVO is. It's the Institute for the Study of Yiddish in New York City, great place. And they commissioned him to go to Vilna, which was called Vilnius at that time, and to paint the synagogue. How smart that person was, I can't imagine. And they went. And they went, was then in Poland. And Chagall had a very bad experience there. When he was in Vilna, he encountered incredible anti-Semitism everywhere he went. And his very close friend, who was a historian of 73 years of age, was beat up in the street in front of him. They were both upset about this. But he did these paintings. This was the greatest synagogue in the world at Vilna. Well, it doesn't exist anymore. That's what EVO thought. It's not going to be around, and it's not. They are now excavating underneath it, and they're using Chagall's paintings as references. They found this column, for example. It's really interesting how this goes. Here, of course, some of you would recognize, this is the Torah, the Ark of the Torah. And over here is the bima, for the reading of the text. Fabulous thing. But you know what? It was utterly destroyed. Nothing left above the ground. Nothing. So Chagall was very upset about the turn of events. And he was also in Paris when Picasso painted his famous Guernica. Can you imagine that? Maybe you know, or maybe you don't know. You know about Guernica? Yeah. That the fascists, Franco, was testing his aerial bombardments on the town of Guernica in the middle of the night and destroyed it entirely. And Picasso did this great mural. I see you have one, a reproduction in color in the museum. fantastic. This one all in, so he used just black, white, and gray, so it looks like a newspaper account. Because it was from the newspaper that he learned what had happened in Guernica. And here you see that sense of horror, the burning house, the fallen man, the mother here crying with a dead child in her arms, the fallen warrior. All of this is here. And Chagall said, I am doing my part. And influenced by Guernica, he painted the famous white crucifixion. And probably many of you have seen it in Chicago. It's a great painting. It was very controversial when he did this. Here you see the figure of Jesus on the cross as a Jew. His loincloth is a talus, the prayer shawl. And he's hanging here as a symbol of the suffering of the Jewish people. He even put his name on the superscription. And what's interesting, too, if you look at it next to the Guernica, it has lots of white, which is very unusual to have that much white, and very little color. And I think he was inspired by the Guernica here. But around the figure of Jesus on the cross, you see different events from the pogrom. He never depicted the Holocaust. And I think I figured out why. He referred to the Holocaust through one event that he did know well, the pogrom. He grew up with the pogroms in his town. And for him, he can never paint something he didn't know directly. And you'll see the intensity of these paintings grow, but he never showed the Holocaust. But he did react to a very famous event, Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass, 1938, the same year as the white crucifixion. And he knew, as everybody else knew, what was coming and what would pass. And in answer to criticism about this, Jews and Christians both criticized him for doing this. He said, if a painter is a Jew and paints life, how is he to keep Jewish elements out of his work? But if he is a good painter, his painting will contain a great deal more. The Jewish content will be there, but his art will aim at universal relevance. That's the idea behind it. And all his life, in the stained glass designs that he did, he used the crucifix, but not the same way for Jewish suffering, but also to try to create a kind of understanding between Christians and Jews. He never converted to Christianity, even though he did many stained glass windows. And he told the priests, I'm not going to convert. But he was looking for peace. And he thought peace would come with an understanding. And here we see he himself described the pogrom. I did tell you about that when he was young, these two big, burly peasants came up to him. And they said, what are you doing here? And he was confused because, where's everybody? Everyone's hiding. Where should I go? And he said, what are you doing here? I don't know. Are you a Jew? And he said, no. He said that haunted him his whole life. He said, never again will I ever do that. But he also realized if he had said that he would have been dead. Then we wouldn't have Chagall. Oh, pretty tough. I just want to show you quickly some of the details because they are very interesting. Here's the town, right? It's falling apart. It's been attacked by the communists coming in, because the Soviets came in and had pogroms as well. And you could see figures lying on the ground, figures homeless from this, and down below, a boat to try to rescue them, overladen, it's they're never going to make it. And then even beyond that, you could see a figure who has been sent, convicted, to go to a camp. And then the wandering Jew. The wandering Jew becomes a very important symbol of the Jewish people and of his. He's always moving around all the time to avoid the Nazis. And he has a pack over his back. So let me show you some more, so I could give you a sense of looking at it. And you should go to, this is this part here, which I think is strongly influenced by the Night of Broken Glass, and also portends what would happen to Vilna. This is the burning of a synagogue. And this Nazi officer here is stealing the Torahs from the synagogue. You could see here the Lions of Judah and the Star of David, the Ten Commandments above. And then over here, let me show you the next part. This is the detail of it. He had more Nazi symbols on the figures, and he painted them out. See, he keeps doing things that make me think. I like artists like that. I think he's seeing evil as ongoing. He doesn't see it tied to just one event. It's ongoing. That's the best I could do right now. And then, on the top, look at these figures. The souls of the Jewish ancestors who are writhing in pain, trying not to look. Marvelous sense. And you get this sense, too, that they've seen it over and over again, just as he had, Chagall. Chagall and his family, they had moved to southern France to escape Paris in 1940. That's the invasion of Paris by the Nazis. So they went to southern France thinking that this would be a good place. Well, if you know your history, the Vichy government, it became very dangerous. And he was even put in prison. So was Bella and Ida, all of them. They were going to be sent out. However, it's a long story, and I find it interesting. I may publish this. But the director of the MoMA, Alfred Barr, secretly rescued them and rescued many Jewish artists. Isn't that interesting? But people don't know about it because it was secret. So he finally was convinced. Actually, Barr said, listen, because Bellas keeps saying, we got to get out of here. And finally they got out of jail. We got to leave. And Barr said, I'm going to give you an exhibition. That's why there's so many paintings in the MoMA by Chagall. It's interesting, they went to New York City. 1941, there you can see. He lived on the Upper East Side, 74th Street. Some of you know New York. He didn't like the city. He liked Paris, but he didn't like New York City. He had trouble with the language. It was too hustle and bustle. And they took a place here in the Adirondacks, Cranberry Lake. Some of you may know it. It looks beautiful, boy. Makes me want to go there. Which reminded them of Vitebsk. So they lived there for a while, but they didn't forget what was going on around them. In 1943, this is a terrible time of violence. By 1943, they knew the genocide was going on. No more pretending or avoiding. And the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising occurred in the same year. Violence in Europe. And what does he use? He doesn't show the Warsaw Ghetto. He shows his town up in flames. And he uses these bright colors. I call it expressionist it could be fauve, but it's more like German Expressionism. It's just so intense, these colors. And here, you get the sense of urgency, trying to get away. And here's a mother with a child who's screaming and crying, and the horse doesn't want to move ahead. You know, you get that sense of, and there's dust coming up, the white dust. And if you look closely, oh goody, I was wondering if you're going to see it. These are Gestapo guys coming in. Can you see them? Oh goody, I'm so happy that you can. Here's that little church that he loved is falling apart. And look what's happened here. Jesus has fallen down on the cross. All in green. Everything is lost. And next to him, you see a Jew holding up the candles, and one has already gone out. The sense of tragedy, the sense here, and the mother, this mother kind of weeping up above, could be Mary, or it could be just a mother who is mourning her family. Wow. I don't know which one is more dramatic about war. I tend to like this one because this is that Renaissance part of me, But this is called War. The War, 1943. Interestingly enough, it's set in the winter in Vitebsk. Vitebsk is gone. There's no more Vitebsk. But he can't let it go. Lying down here, you're looking down and you see this figure lying in the snow. His arms are outstretched and he's unattended. There's no figures to be seen here. But what he does is amazing in terms of composition. First of all, you get the red blood stained, the staining of the snow. And over here on the edge, you could make out the wandering Jew with the bundle over his shoulder, the only figure there. And then moving up, this would have been a cart with people. The people are gone. The cart is out of control, and the horse is rearing up, which takes us up to this point, and then we move to zigzag. I like zigzags. Zigzag upward, where we see another element that he likes, that's symbolic, the mother and child on the sled. And you know she's going to fall. It's so precarious. You see her red hair, windblown. He's moved away from the breast, from nursing, and he's in panic. And the horse continues to go up. And maybe if there's something, there's a kind of circle of color around her as she ascends to heaven. 1944, they're at Cranberry Lake. They spend all their time there. Bella, at the age of 55, dies suddenly from a throat infection that could not be treated because of a shortage of medicine during the war. He describes it. He said, it hit me like a thunderbolt. He said, I couldn't see for 2 days. I was blind. And I couldn't paint for a year. He was a mess. His beloved Bella was dead. Finally, he came out of it in 1945 because the war was over as well. But also, he needed that time. He found consolation in sustaining Bella's memory in art. He could bring it back alive. And he painted this work called Around Her. Around Her. Of course, you know her is Bella. And we see the background is blue, like heaven. And where an angel has come down in this beautiful curve with the red hair and presented the circle or crystal ball of the city, the village of Vitebsk. The night is ending, and there's a suggestion of some light emerging here on the horizon. Chagall, who had been painting, he holds his palette, it's transfixed. His head goes upside down as he looks up and sees this vision. And talk about composition. We move up, it's like music. Okay? We move up from here and over to the right where we see Chagall with Bella on their wedding day, the white gown, embracing and flying through, and on a bed, so to speak, of laurel branches. Laurel is symbolic of triumph, of everlasting life. Love is immortal. Love is forever. And we follow her veil down where we see an image of her. She's wiping a tear. She's sad, and she's mourning the loss of her life. This relates directly to a photograph and to an event in their life. In 1934, 10 years before she died, Bella posed for a portrait of herself in the studio, wearing a lace collar and a lace cuff and holding a lace fan. You know, she was always there, critiquing his work, talking to him about his work. He really shared something beautiful with her. I don't know, this one makes me cry. And yet it's kind of traditional, isn't it? I think she somehow wanted this. I think she wanted this. It is gorgeous. It's in a private collection. And he had it with him, and then it was left. It was still in a private collection. So I have never seen it. But look at this. Here she's wearing a green velvet dress, but she has the lace of the trim, and she holds the fan. But look at that expression on her face. She's a poet. They are so symbiotic. He's the artist, she's the poet, he's the poet, she's the artist. Look at that faraway look. And behind her, we see this mass of, is it lace, is it flowers? It's so ethereal. And can you see it? Boom! I didn't see it at first because I'm looking at books, you know. The angel, it's like she's divine. And she's not dead. She's not dead yet. It's beautiful. Well, I'm not done yet with this. Well, his life did go on, and he was married for more than 30 years to her, Bella, but then he gets married for more than 30 years to Vava. It's very interesting. His life was not over. He married Vava, Valentina Brodsky, a Ukrainian Jew from a shtetl like his own, in 1952, and they were married until he died in 1985, when she was 80 years of age. Now, she's important, too. Just as Bella is as inspiration, Vava served as secretary and manager for many of his large-scale projects, including the Hadassah windows. All of those big projects she helped him with. And there you see pictures of them. This is the one, I like it very much. It took me a while to figure it out, to decipher what he was trying to say. Do you notice something? The same dress. It's the same dress. And it doesn't even mean that the dress even existed. But he painted it. He painted the same dress on her. And look at her. She's majestic. You know, she's his solid base. She's everything to him here. And her face is green, which means that she's intense and introspective person. She has the two different eyes. One eye is the eye that sees, the other is the imaginative eye. So she was more than just the manager. And I think, here I go, but I'll never get time to, I have too many publications. But I think that this painting that he did, Chagall was 79 years of age when he did her. And maybe she asked for it. It could very well be. That he was thinking that this was like a summa, a summation of his whole life in one painting. And boy, it is really interesting. First of all, that they are lovers. There's a sketch showing them embracing on her lap. Maybe he made a sketch, and brought it to her. But it's symbolic, right? Then over here, afraid to use this because things are going so well. But this, I bet I give you extra credit, but if you know who that is. The red cow, that's Chagall, with the almond eyes. She always said, you have almond eyes. Look at that. And the red cow is licking the Eiffel Tower. Wow. I mean, such imagination. And then I look down here, and I hope you could see it. You see it? La Roche. So this is Paris. This is his formation. Here's his background. Okay, here's the sketch that celebrates her. And then at first I didn't know, what is that in the back? But then I realized it's a painting. The painting within the painting. It shows Vitebsk here, and above there's the bird. The bird is always good. But, who is that? Oh, you got it! I thought you were going to say Chagall. Well, I think it is. Oh. She has to be there anyway, doesn't she? He's not going to wipe out 30 years of his life and all that he learned and did with her. And look, even her face color suggests that she's, ethereal off somewhere else. Do you think it looks like? That's the year they got married. See, it's recollections. And so it is. And then I think that he had them both, in his possession. The two women that he loved, Bella and Vava. Beautiful. Chagall never stopped learning. He never stopped. He may have used some elements over and over again, but he went further than anybody else with color. And let me show you this painting that was done just a few years before he died. It's called Couple on a Red Background. And what do you see here? Just large areas of color. The red background. Here, Chagall, here, with Vava, right? She put down a book to be with him. There they are. And that red represents the earthly existence, the physical life, because here's the cock that symbolizes that kind of. But then the blue is the shape of a palette, the palette that he's holding. And he's standing in front of a bouquet of flowers, becoming inspired. The life of the imagination and how one feeds another. Here, color is used to describe things. Color of the floor, the color of the tablecloth. Here, color is used to describe space. Meaningful, psychological space. And I think is amazing. And that's what happens because of all those big works that he's doing, in my opinion. When you have a big, like the stained glass, you can't, it's marvelous. Yeah, I think you agree that he's a great colorist. Yeah, I think you agree that he knew how to put the things together. But I want to leave you today what he said about art, color, and life. Despite all the troubles of our world, in my heart, I have never given up on love, on the love in which I was brought up, or on man's hope in love. In life, just as on the artist's palette, there is but one single color that gives meaning to life and art: the color of love. Thank you.